Okay, so it is Super Thursday in a big way. We've had a start already with the Aussie unemployment rate, an increase on last month, an increase on previous, and an increase on forecast. So not real flash for the Aussie, and I think we're seeing that very bearish cross continue, and nothing appears to be on the horizon to change that. Of course, the employment change was a good number, but the headline act really is the unemployment rate, and that won't be received too well by the market, one would not think. We've also had the Bank of Japan's policy rate. I haven't read the statement, but as expected, no change in the rate, still negative 0.1%. And as I say, don't know how the press conference went. I guess we'll have a look at the charts and see what was made of that. In many respects, the big news of the day, notwithstanding the BOJ decision, etc., will be upcoming. And in about, an hour and 54 minutes, we're going to have retail sales coming out of Britain. And then, of course, the big one of the day, where nothing's supposed to happen, everyone's supposed to vote for no change. The Monetary Policy Committee will vote for whether they're going to raise interest rates, leave them on hold, or cut them. So nothing's going to happen there, one wouldn't think. And of course, the monetary policy summary after that. And that'll probably be it for the day, but it's a massive day in terms of news events. And already we've seen the market move against the dollar, interestingly, after, of course, last night we saw the interest rate increase on the US dollar. And the resulting press conference and statement was a little bit dovish, I'm told. The press conference, that is, didn't see it. The statement for mine was a little bit benign. I didn't think it really said anything too much, either dovish or hawkish. So, yeah, interesting. Obviously, the market reacted in kind, as you would expect, on interest rate increase, and sent the dollar, I won't say soaring, but it certainly appreciated. But that has all changed thus far today. Let's take a look at the chart, shall we, and see what we can glean from them. I can glean one thing from the Aussie, that nothing's happening apart from the continuation, if you like, yesterday, and probably as a result definitely as a result of the Fed announcement, because it was kind of holding its own prior to that, and then bang she goes. I better go to the 4-hour chart to depict that. Yeah, it was kind of holding its own yesterday until we got, I guess, ready for the FOMC statement, and thereafter it fell away dramatically, as you can see. Today, yeah, look, holding its own, but I think that's on the back of some dollar selling in the last hour or so, and we've seen the euro and the pound appreciate substantially on those, or on that, for whatever reason. I'm no great fundamentalist, but I think the market has had its reaction to the interest rate rise, and now it's gone back to Tors, pretty much where it started before that, in terms of the euro and the pound. Anyway, we'll have a look at those in a tick. But as far as the Aussie's concerned, it's tough to be anything but bearish. The Aussie, that said, I'm still looking for longs. And for the life of me, I'm not entirely sure why, but if you look at this chart here, it's smelling of bearishness, isn't it? This is, and I keep saying it, these two lines in the sand. I was looking for a long here. I was looking for a long here. That didn't pan out. Fortunately, there was no semblance of an entry for me. And as the FOMC statement most clearly showed, the Aussie is in strife. Now, I guess if we look at this level here, it's showing us a very clear left and right shoulder, almost to the bottom of this range. Yeah, I'd like to see something false here, something like that would get me a little bit interested. But after that, I'd like to see a little bit of confirmation also, if I am to trade this long at all. Am I going or willing to trade it long from here? Well, yeah, I am, but I'd need to see something a bit better than these candles here in order to instigate a long position. I'll keep you posted on that. That's of course the daily chart. We'll be looking at the smaller time frames. Maybe a bullish engulfing bar here on top of a double bottom, and then something of a higher low in this vicinity on the 4-hour chart. That's going to take time to develop. Maybe that gets me interested, but it is a little bit tough, I've got to say. I was talking about the euro, and the euro has had a good day thus far against the dollar. And the hourly chart will show you exactly how that's been happening in the last hour or a couple of hours, as I said before. Still going on with it at DR1 at the moment. That has, of course, improved our position. We've banked twice on this one already. And the third position I'm just leaving open until such times as we get smashed out. Not really trailing the stop yet. I've got my stop in the original position, which is underneath both the weekly and the daily and the monthly pivots, rather, just tucked in down here. And if we can get a good run out of this, then that would be absolutely lovely and a nice Christmas present, of course. It can only win, of course. We've banked twice, as I said, and we've got 2/3 of our position in the bank already. If I'm trading this today without bias, which is probably going to be difficult, given I don't really want to add to the positions that I've got already, I don't see a scaling as an option at the moment. Rather, I saw earlier an indicator that there was potentially going to be a bit of short activity, maybe back to the pivots, maybe even a reversal on the back of this bar here, which was of course the FOMC statement. But as I said before, we're now back to tours as if the FOMC didn't say anything and we didn't have a rate increase. That's kind of weird in some regards, but I'm sniffing a little dollar weakness, and I guess we've been seeing that leading into the FOMC statement yesterday. But I'm happy with what I've got, and I don't think I need to change anything. If you're not in this long, then I don't know. It's not an easy task to get in here. I wouldn't have thought. You'd be looking for retracement number one. So that's a little time off for now. So I haven't got anything really on the euro at the moment except let's go. The pound has refused to go through the weekly pivot, and that's great because that's where our stop loss is. I am long this cross also. We're just below entry. We entered here trading this bar. That was on Tuesday. And really, we've had misfortunes since with the FOMC statement dragging us down. And I can't remember what that was, but that was a sell-off also. Look, this is going sideways, to be fair. I'd like to see something of a TP1 before these this bank statement and, of course, interest rate decision, or vote, if you like, but that looks unlikely, although it has put on a spurt, as I said, in the last couple of hours. If I'm not in this trade, am I looking for anything in particular? Look, I still think long is the way to go here, despite all that's happening with Brexit. We do have a nice double bottom. We've got a significant higher low and potentially another significant higher low here. I think this has got I think I've got every right to be a little bit on the bullish side. I wouldn't say I'm an absolute bull, but it's looking okay to me from a cycle point of view. Going sideways, yes, no doubt. And I guess the news is going to give us the direction of the day. And hopefully it's in my direction, of course. That is yet to be determined. If I'm not in this and have no bias, what am I looking at? I'm looking at a sideways market, really, and at this stage on the hourly chart, this looks like a big rejection bar of this level, which has been so strong. And if I'm a 30-minute trader, I'm probably looking for that candle to close as is, and probably looking to trade underneath it. But it being the first candle of London session, it's a candle that I don't trade, so I'll be a watcher. And hopefully these highs get taken out and we get back into the black. As I say, a TP1 before these news announcements would be most welcome. So they're the three majors that I trade. The crosses or the minors. Let's have a look at pound yen. As the yen, I was actually thinking the yen might come off a bit, but that is not the case, and well, certainly not against the pound at the moment. And whatever the Bank of Japan statement was today, it hasn't really shaken this cross up too much at all. Let me have a look at the hourly chart and see what the reaction was, in fact. Well, it's obviously bearish, but not to a large degree. In fact, we've just got to a support level by the look of that, and we've come off it. Where's that level? Let's call it, yeah, it's in there somewhere, isn't it? Really. So yeah, potential false break of that level. I don't know that I'd be too keen to add to my pound position as well, certainly not against the yen, which has been strong. So I'll be letting this one go. If I'm not in any trade with the pound involved and at risk, then I'm probably looking here for maybe a daily pivot retest and then a higher low in this area. And I'd be willing to trade that long if that were the case. We shall see how we're traveling if and when that happens. And I might, you just never know, I might. This is the one I was interested in this morning when we did the morning TTR show. And the reason should be clear. We are at the bottom of this range. If you want to tighten that range up, you could probably go up to here somewhere as well. And this then becomes a potential false break. I'm still willing to call it that. If and only if, this is the daily chart, of course, so I won't be trading that today, but let's have a sneak peek at the 4-hour chart. And again, if this turns into a false break, what I'll be looking for is not to trade this bar, but to wait until we get maybe a bit of price action here, pull off the daily pivot and give me a higher low. Now, 4-hour chart, that's going to take some time. It may give us an opportunity on the hourly or even 30-minute chart a little bit later. So I'd really like to see a test of the daily pivot, a pull back off it, and a failure to get back below this bottom of the range or even this red line here that you can see. And if it put in a higher low there, then I would be more than happy to take this long as well. That is euro yen, although the yen is and has been quite strong, as we know. Euro CAD showing the strength of the euro and the weakness of the CAD. I'm not sure what the CAD news was earlier in the week. I'm sure we did have some. CAD news. Or was it tomorrow? Retail sales and GDP. Oh no, there it is. CPI number was as forecast, but not great. And a little bit of red paint there in the CPI figures as well. So CAD's off, not solely because of those numbers, I don't believe, but also got to do with this little one here, I believe, which tends to drag the CAD down with it, and that is the oil price, which just continues to tumble. I've got this red line in here as a potential bounce point for me, around about the 41.85 mark. It's tough to see this actually recovering until that time from a technical point of view, and certainly it is tumbling over the waterfall. Very, very hard to see that stopping anytime soon. And for that reason, I suppose Euro CAD and the fact that we've had poor news on the CAD earlier in the week is probably reason to think that Euro CAD can continue in this vein. Certainly tough to trade, however. We would need, or I would need, to trade this a substantial retracement, at least to the daily pivot, if not back to this level here, the 150 to 70 odd level. it's there, I would look for something of a bounce. I don't even think I'd be willing to trade a bounce off the daily pivot, although this is very strong. And again, we've got news coming up tomorrow. Yeah, look, I think I'd be willing to trade it today, but I'd want to see that that very substantial pullback before I did. What else have we got? Euro Aussie. Well, there's the relative strength of the two crosses that we had a look at against the dollar, where the Aussie was still struggling, but the euro doing quite well today against the dollar, and we're seeing that relative strength of the euro over the Aussie in spades here, as that continues to rally off 153.75 now up to 160.60. So quite a substantial rally, euro against the Aussie. Wonder, can the Aussie turn around, guys? Gee whiz. Well, we'll see. But yeah, I guess there's a level there, isn't there? It's in here somewhere, which is pretty much where we are, right? Let me just go a little bit wider. The level's not 100% clear to me. Yeah, we're pretty close to it. It's not the strongest level on the chart. I think that level is probably yet to come. Maybe in there somewhere, but it's not crystal clear, I've got to say. Signs of reversal here, yeah, I'm okay with that. A reversal bar followed by a lower high might get me interested on a daily basis. That's going to be in Christmas week, though, one would have thought. So probably I'm looking way shorter time frames. 4 hourly, same thing. If we get a roll over here, reversal bar maybe, and a lower high, perhaps. Aussie yen, quite the reverse, of course, and coming very near to the bottom of the range. That's always a good thing for me, because I then get to have an opportunity to look for a reversal. This level here I've got on my chart for some reason. What is it? Good question. It's a mistake. Okay. I think we can do without that. And leave this as the level, the bottom of the range, which is got a little bit of form, I think. Yeah, a little bit. I wouldn't say it's the strongest level in the world either, but it'll do me for a bounce point. And if we can find that on a smaller time frame, obviously that's a big time frame we're looking at, but we're not that far away. And if we do get the opportunity, then guys, I'll just have to send that person a message. Okay, done. I'd like to see it come a little bit lower, maybe around about to get below 79 anyway, or hit 79, make that a false break area, and again a higher low, and we can trade that long as well. Ooh, that's Aussie. Tough to be calling the Aussie long. And finally, two more to go, maybe three more to go. Dollar yen. I've flagged this area 111.30 as a get out point if you are in this short. I'm not. Sadly, I'm not. But it doesn't look like easing up anytime soon. Maybe there's a level where we are, just through here. And that might hold us up for a little bit, but that's the level I'm looking at for potential bounce here, if there is to be one. I don't think I can get too interested in this, however, until that happens. The 4 hour chart is pretty clear also. Tumble. Okay, and pound Aussie. Well, anything against the Aussie at the moment, even if it is an obscure currency, would be going quite well, one would think, because Aussie is the weakest thing going around at the moment. And the pound, of course, is rallying today. And on the back of that, we're seeing pound Aussie strength. What do we expect from this today? Well, there's a beautiful place for this to do something, if it is to turn around. And I keep saying there's going to be turnarounds. I'm not really saying there are. What I am saying is there's potential for them to happen. Certainly with the pound there is, given the news that's upcoming in about an hour and 35 minutes, if my memory serves me correctly. I don't want to race into these trades, that's for sure, before the news. I've already got risk on the pound at this point, so I don't really want to be overexposing myself during this news announcement, which, of course, as we know, can go either way. But that'll do me if I see something a little bit after the news on maybe the 4-hour, maybe the hourly chart that suggests that there might be a little bit of a turnaround here. So a reversal bar, lower high, same old. There's nothing new in all of that. Euro pound's the tough one, and I for the life of me can't see why. Well, I couldn't earlier in the week. I couldn't see why the pound wasn't well below the euro in terms of price action. And I guess we're seeing that in that the euro is stronger, but it's been very, very tough to trade, given the doji here, the weekly pivot sitting above here. It's been very, very tough to get into that trade. And I was not that I wasn't watching it, because I was, and I couldn't find a way into this because primarily of this here, which is a whole load of garbage. What are you going to trade here? Which breakout are you going to, which potential and which direction are you going to take? And very, very tough to find that. Now it's broken and retested the weekly pivot. Obviously, the daily's now crept over the weekly. It would suggest that there's potentially going to be a test of these highs, but I'm not convinced of that either, quite frankly, now. And in particular, since we've got news coming up on the pound, it's fraught with danger, in my humble opinion, to get into this at this point in time. So guess what? I don't think I will. So there. So that's pretty much round the grounds as far as I'm concerned. Ash can't join us today. He's in a queue at the hospital. Not that he's ill or anything like that. His daughter has checkups. She's got a foot issue that they're rectifying, and that's why Ash can't be with us today. His apologies and very, very best wishes for a wonderful Christmas for you, by the way, and that, of course, goes into 2019 as well. Now, I'm no footsie person, I've got to say, but let's take a look at it anyway, as Ash does before the open of UK session, which is now only a minute and a half away. Look, I don't even know what he'd be looking for here. That's a hell of a bar to be trading against, one would have thought. That's the daily, of course. The 4-hourly charts. I'm thinking short. But again, I'm certainly no aficionado on this cross, that's for sure. I'm just, from a technical point of view, telling you what I think, and I think any sign of a reversal bar here would get me quite interested short. But having said that, I would like to see a daily pivot test, as always, before I jumped on board. Yeah, I'm not going to go too much further with that. What I will do is go back and have a look at the 30-minute charts and see what London thinks of the pound, as it is now 1.5 hours away from this rate decision and, of course, Monetary Policy Committee's statement. And, of course, press conference. I think there's a press conference as well, is there not? No, there's not. So there's just the votes, the summary, and the announcement of the rate, which is, of course, expected to stay at 0.75. So no press conference at all. But let's see what the early betting tells us, if anything. As you can see, all day through Asia, we've had some buying, and in particular, as we went into the open of European session, if you like. Brussels opens at around about that time, or is it that time? It's actually that time, I think. So there was a little bit of buying in late Asia, but that's tepid somewhat, has it not? We'll see. We'll see how the London traders are going to react to this. Obviously, from my point of view, I'd like them to start buying. That would be good, and get me into a safe place before the announcement's made in an hour and a half. But they don't look to be terribly bullish. One would hasten to add. What are they doing with the euro? Pretty much the same thing with the Aussie. Oh, the Aussie's got a little bit of strength in it. Well, at least for now. Could I, guys? Could I actually find a long here? The long that I've been seeking for such a long time. I've kind of been very fortunate, I think, in that that last week we traded this long, took profit before the monthly pivot, then saw this bar and traded it short. Sadly, I got out of that short around about here when the stop loss for the long got triggered. Otherwise, that would have been a pretty good trade. But I'm still thinking I can get into this long. Why am I so dogged when everything is pointing in the opposite direction? Well, it's because I keep seeing little signs, and that little sign today. If this shoulder wasn't here, this left shoulder wasn't here, I wouldn't be thinking long here at all. But because we do have a potential clear right shoulder, of course, I'm going to give it an opportunity to show me that it can reverse here. And if that's the case, then again, as usual, I'll look for that high and low. That being the daily chart, of course, there's going to be many variations on a theme prior to that happening tomorrow and into next week, which of course is Christmas week. I won't be carrying. I don't think I'll be carrying anything except maybe the euro, because the euro is in such a strong trading position for me. I'm just happy to leave that go into next week. I don't think that that can be too harmful in any way. But the pound is entirely dependent on what happens in this news, because I may not be in the trade after the news announcement, of course. But the Aussie, that's what's making it difficult now for me on the Aussie. You know, I'd like to take a position that I can close tomorrow, early tomorrow, and I just don't know that I'm going to be in that position to be able to find an entry A and then profit B before I can or want to close the trade. So that's going to be the tough assignment, I think, on the Aussie. Still selling. Look, it's not real vigorous, is it? The pound is, and you would expect that there'd be some sort of direction, given that the traders are an hour and 27 minutes away from this announcement. And we're seeing, well, typical UK Open as far as I'm concerned. You know, it goes one way, then the other, and perhaps if they've really got an opinion, it will stay in one direction, but it rarely stays in one direction for that entire 30-minute candle. It generally gives you a little bit of volatility, and that's why I don't trade the opening candle of the London session. What is the FTSE doing? Ash tells me that's generally the direction it's going to head. If we do get a bar that heads in a single direction, that's generally the way the market sees the day panning out, and generally the way it does go. Again, not too much going on there, I wouldn't have thought. And yeah, it's pretty damn quiet on the Western Front. How's the dollar going against the yen? Is that still tumbling? Okay. I'm sure I'll find a time frame here that's going to tell me there's potential reversal. I'll keep fishing anyway. Maybe it's this one. Maybe it's the hourly. We'll see how that goes with the close of this bar in 55 minutes time, and then we'll seek that high low. Guys, I haven't really got that many ideas apart from what I've just been through. Tough to be long the Aussie. You're going to have to wait for a nice reversal bar. The euro, look, as I said, I'm just going to leave this go. Stops are here. I see no reason to change those. If we get stopped out here, it's not the end of the world because we've banked 2/3 of our position already. And that will make us a winner still. If we get real lucky, we might find this level before tomorrow or even before the weekend. And if that's the case, I'm not going to change a thing, but I may tighten the stops up just a little bit. But I've got the weekly and the monthly pivot sitting here, and they're good protectors as far as I'm concerned. So I'll just let this run, I think. And even into Christmas week, I think that's perfectly fine. And if we wake up at some stage on Christmas morning, and not likely to be the case, but if that were to be a nice little Christmas present, then the euro might be up here somewhere towards the top of that channel. That channel, of course, we've been speaking about for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it primarily comes off this area here. I just want to investigate that a little bit further with you. Now, this started as a potential head and shoulders, which is, I wouldn't say it's one of my favourite things, that's for sure, but it is one of Ash's favourite things to trade. And so when we do this show, and Ash and I are always together in the show, of course, well, always when one of us is not here, that's not the case. So we like to just compare notes, and I pointed this out to him. Wow, how far back are we going here, I suppose? Back in late September, early October. Yeah, late September. And we figured that that was a potential right shoulder, but we'd also thought that this may be the right shoulder if it did form. But when this did happen, we got a nice reversal bar here, and that was an obvious trade, really, at the end of the day. And there have been a few of them on the way down. When we got down to the bottom here, Ash said, "Oh, look, I think that's over. That's done and dusted, that channel." And then it broke, of course, and maybe that was an interesting statement to make. But I always love to play false breaks, and the reason for that is there are far more false breaks than there are anything else. Breakouts are rare compared to false breakouts. So it's these trades that I find probably the most fruitful trades that I can actually, or that I do actually trade. And they can be off trend lines. They can be off the tops of ranges. They can be off the bottom of ranges. And I consider a channel to be a range to be absolutely fair. And the reason I say that is that it does exactly the same thing as a range does. It comes from the top to the bottom, to the top, through the top. Now, there's a false break for you. Down to the bottom, to the top, to the bottom. You know, to me, it's a range on a slant, if I can put it in that particular vernacular. And because we've really got a confluence down here of channel and horizontal range, so oblique range, horizontal range, this is always a great place to trade, in my humble opinion, where you've got a nice strong confluence. Now, I've had a little bit of fun in here, trading on the smaller time frames, going up and down. And that's generally the case. When we do find we're in a range, we get to trade a few times. We get to trade long here, for instance. We get to trade long here, for instance. And we get to trade short here. We get to trade long here. You know, there's quite a lot of opportunities. If you can actually identify those ranges, they're very, very good. And as I say, they don't have to be horizontal levels. They can be anything you like. And channels are one of the top picks for me. So point of the exercise is, if you identify one of these, it doesn't matter what they look like. They can be just about anywhere in the chart, as long as they continue to do what you perceive them to be doing, and that is, of course, going from the top to the bottom, bottom to the top, etc., then they're still valid. And they're, in my opinion, an excellent direction finder, except when the market does this. But when the market does this, I'm on a daily chart. If you zoom into the 30-minute chart, guess what you're going to find? You're going to find a big range. And the way I depict them is I just look for the first two equal highs and the first two equal lows, and that would pretty much be there. You can see where I've got these white lines, and that's exactly what that's depicting. It's depicting the range within the range, if you like. And again, once you've found that, nice reversal here with the bearish engulfing bar, followed up by a lower high. Bingo. Nice reversal, double bottom, depicting the false break. Pick up the higher low, pick up some trades, pick up some momentum. Don't quite get to the top here, but you get a reversal, and then you get a lower high, trade, bottom, higher low, trade. It's getting a bit tough in here because you're nowhere near the extremities. Same here, false break, higher low, trade, double top. This is potentially a lower high, so there's potentially a trade coming there as well. But it's only potential at this point in time. So, that's pretty much my method of trading in a nutshell. That's what I'm looking for every single day of the week. I'm looking for these ranges, not trends. I'm not a trend trader by any stretch. And this is the way I pick them off, by finding the tops and the bottoms and then looking for the higher lows or the lower highs, as it were. Righto, so where does that leave us? It leaves us with the euro at the moment, as I said, coming off a double top. So we're looking for a lower high. It has to be significant. In other words, it can't be the next bar that gives me a reversal. It has to be significant, and this would be significant if it were to set up. Now we've got more than two candles. I want to see it get away from here as well. So I'd either like to see it come down and give me a significant. I don't like the swift moves either. The nice gentle ones that look like, let me see one. A nice gentle one that goes up like this, then comes down. Goes up like this, then comes down. They're the ones I'm looking for. They're swings. They're pretty obvious swings. And everything's obvious after the event. I know that, but I like to see a nice gentle move. This is too tough. If I were to get a reversal bar here, I wouldn't be able to trust it. But if I got some nice steady price action up to here, then a reversal bar, then I'd be able to trust it, and that would be the time I'd look to pounce. Okay, how's that pound going? Recovering a little bit, and with an hour and 17 minutes now to go before the news. Have I got a chance to get into the black here is the question that I'm asking myself. And do I need to manage this in any way, shape or form? Look, the position I've got is not large. And the reason it's not large is because of the uncertainty that this cross encapsulates at the moment, due to, of course, that wonderful word Brexit. And we've got complete unsurety around this. And when I entered here, I said at the time, look, this is all on or all off. And I think the risk here is definitely worth taking. And the reason I say that is I'll take a small risk for a potential massive reward, in my humble opinion. This can go to here. It can even go beyond here at some stage. as the Brexit thing pans out, we've only got to get on the right side of this when this vote's taken in January. And if we do, this can go a long, long way. Either way. But if we're in long, I'm more than happy, because I think, and we've discussed this on the Tuesday Ttr show. Julie and I are having this conversation on Tuesday, and we were saying, Julie in particular was saying that the pound is at a very, very good price to buy. So it's it's way, way oversold. And if you're going to buy, and if you can get in at the right time, then happy days. I agree with that 100%. But I haven't got much on the table, so I'm more than willing to risk the small amount that I do have on to get the big amount that that is potentially on offer. And even if this goes wrong, there may well be another opportunity down the track to get into this. But I think I've got my stops pretty much in the right place. And if we're going south here, then we're going south, in my opinion, and that's where we're going to get out. So nothing really more to add to that. That's why I'm happy to hang on to the position. And this is the kind of thing that I'm looking for with even that's a little bit too fast for me. But it is a reversal. And if I wasn't in the position I'm in, I could probably think about trading that. Actually, I could hedge that, to be fair, but I haven't got enough on the table to hedge, so it's just not worth it. I'll just stick to the position that I've got. But definitely, that's an opportunity to trade short, in my humble opinion. We've got every reason to think this can go short from here, and my bias, because I have that big reward above me, it's not preventing me from taking the short, but I'm happy to be exposed in one direction and one direction only. I don't want to get into a slogging match with this pound at the moment, because I think you can get into trouble. So I'm just leaving it as it is. Okay, where are we going? I'm going to have a look at EuroCAD again, and on the 4-hour chart. Yeah. Really, where's the level? It's a bit messy. I guess, if I'm honest, okay, well, let's do it. Let's do it. There might be something through here. Yeah. Okay. So I'm calling this up here. It's not far from where I had my first impression. I'll look for something there, but not at this moment. Again, the oil price and the CAD news tomorrow will determine the fate of that one. I think Euro Aussie same, pound yen. Pound, we'll know that the pound's going to be determined by the pound's direction, going to be determined by the news. The euro looks strong. You'd have to say that. Let me see where this can go. Well, the good old red line, as I said before, 115 is a distinct possibility, maybe even today, if this continues to rally. And then we'll be in a pretty good position, because you'd be expecting a retracement from here, but our stops are way down here, so I'd be comfortable with that. And the next push, if this is to reverse, then the next push takes us right up to here, and that's getting into good trade territory by then. We'll be having quite a good time around Christmas with that one, given that we've banked twice already on this. Let's take another look at the news of the day. CAD's expecting good news tomorrow. That's what I'm looking at the moment. Dollar's expecting okay news tomorrow. Yeah, it's all about the pound, isn't it, really? We're just waiting on this, and there's really not too much more to do, guys, to be absolutely fair. Those of you who are just joining us, I'll briefly go through, and welcome to you for the very last free show on YouTube for the year. As we break for Christmas back on the 7th, I think it is, Monday the 7th. I think Monday is the 7th, if my memory serves me correctly. Look, Aussie, I'm still hanging on with a very faint glimmer of hope. I've got to say that this can reverse and go long. It's a tough call, I know, but I'm still hanging on to that. It does look like it's breaking down again, but this little line I've got here, which represents perhaps a right shoulder, might just be what the doctor ordered. Clearly, as the levels continue to fall, if that one goes, then it's just going to be very, very hard. That's for sure. The Euro's performing very well today, and that doesn't displease me, of course, given that we took this long position. When did we take this long position? On Tuesday. Yep, Tuesday, when we got the breakthrough of the pivot. So I'll just show you what I traded there. Basically, we got the breakthrough of the pivots, and we got a nice retest of the pivots with a nice little candle pattern that I like to trade, and that was pretty much an automatic entry for me. We've had to survive FOMC, which we have at this point in time anyway, and that looks to have now obliterated itself, if you like, because this is where the FOMC statement was made yesterday, and we're now back into positive territory in terms of majors versus the dollar anyway, except the Aussie. And I'll go back to the Aussie, and that just goes to show you how relatively weak the Aussie is compared to both the euro and the pound. And they're the three majors that I like to trade against the dollar. So that, if it means anything at all to you, is absolutely underlining that the Aussie is the weakest of the three majors that I trade at the moment by a long way. Whether that means wait for it to reverse or not, just leave me out of that one. All right. So with the euro approaching resistance, this will obviously cause a little bit of a hiccup for the cross. We're above DR1. That white line there today, I think, is the line in the sand for me. And if the euro can get through that today, then I think we may be off to the races. You know, there's no certainty as yet, but we're certainly having a crack at the highs, and yesterday's high significantly, which was before the FOMC statement. And the pound, guys, those of you who weren't in when I went through this before, just out of the money here on yesterday's entry on the pound, and looking for that to rally through our entry, of course, and on to TP1 here. And that would be really nice if it happened before the news, which is now an hour and 6 minutes away. And if that were to be the case, we'd be in a pretty strong position all up, given that we've had some nice success on the euro in the last couple of days. Look, and I repeat, I don't have a lot on the table here because of the uncertainty surrounding the pound at the moment. In fact, I hesitated quite profoundly before talking myself into taking a long position on this. And look, I may well get kicked in the butt for that yet. But as I just said not long ago, but I do see some new people in the room. The reason I'm more than willing to take that very small risk is because I think there's a massive reward available here if we get this timing right. and it's all to do with timing. And if we can get into here, then it's happy days. You know, the small amount becomes a reasonable amount by the time you add that many pips in, and that's pretty much the basis of the trade. It's big reward for little risk, and that's why I'm taking the position. It may, as I say, if the news goes against us here, we'll be out, and that's just something up with which we must put when we take a big reward to risk position such as that. And that really is the basis of everything at the moment. The dollar versus the Aussie and the pound are the only two things that really I'm waiting on here. The euro can do its own thing. As I said, we're in a very strong position on that, having banked twice. I don't know about trading against the yen at the moment either. I haven't read the BOJ statement. I know they've kept their interest rates on hold, but I would like to have a look at that before I made any real decisions on where we're going against the yen. Certainly, the euro, pardon me, is outperforming the pound on that basis. And if you then go to the euro pound, I think you're finding that there's a strong case for euro long against the pound as well. Seeing that, I actually saw that early in the week, but I just couldn't find my way into it, to be fair, because look at this, too tough to trade for mine. And if you tried to trade the breakouts and you had tight stops here, that candle would have fixed you up well and truly. And if you were short here, that candle would have fixed you up. If you were long, the only real time I could see that where I'd even consider getting long on this chart anyway, and this is a 4-hour chart. Look, I can't see one. I just can't see one. You're trading straight into the weekly pivot. It's just too tough. Maybe that bar was tradable. Yeah, but that would have been the only time I could have got long. And if that were the case, you're just in the money now. If having survived, I guess, a weekly pivot test. So yeah, look, I'm finding that as we wind down to Christmas, the only positions that I'm interested in, quite frankly, are the euro that I'm in, the pound that I'm in, and the Aussie that I'd like to be in. But the Aussie's got to do a whole lot of work before I can actually get into that particular long. So guys, I'm just going to take a little pause here for 3 minutes and wait for the 30-minute candles to close, and then I will resume commentary. Maybe not for a long time, because it's pretty clear now what my intentions are, and the show won't be going when the news is released. So I'll just come back and have a look at the 30-minute candles and spend a few minutes with you. If you've got any questions in particular, I notice there are quite a few people in the room, which is great. If you've got any questions surrounding why I'm doing what I'm doing, or what your thoughts are, if you'd like me to take a look at something for you, then there is a group chat box, and I believe we're able to see the chat these days, whereas prior to now, it has been a blackout. I don't see any questions in the chat box at the moment, I must say, but if there are any, then I'll deal with those in a couple of minutes. But I'm just going to mute my microphone. Normally, I would like to play you some music, but because we are on YouTube, that is a contravention of license. So I'm sure you don't want me to hum Merry Christmas, which isn't, well, maybe it even is a contravention of license. So we'll just leave it at that, and I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Okay, everyone, here I am back in a flash. It was a flash, well, kind of. So I'm going to go through the 30-minute charts and just see if there's any possibilities, and then I'll probably leave you, given that I've given you about 2 or 3 times today exactly what I am looking for, and it's pretty much the 3 majors, Aussie, Euro and Pound, that I am interested in. The Aussie, now we've got a double bottom sitting here on the 30-minute chart. I will be seeking a higher low in this area. And if we do get that, then I will place a long here. It will be a small stake once again, given that the momentum against this pair is absolutely incredible. If we actually do get a turnaround here, and let me go to the 4-hour chart. If we actually do get a turnaround here and take out these pivots, then I'll look for a pullback and scale into this bigger time, because I have been looking for a reversal here for quite some time on this cross. And if we can find a way in as a maybe a small stake trade, as I said in the initials, and we get above these pivots and then retest them, that's where I'll ramp it up and look for something a little bit better and a little bit larger, because I do think this can reverse, and I'm not ruling out 77-ish up around here somewhere. So that's what I'm seeking in the longer term. That, of course, will go through Christmas and into the new year, perhaps, or maybe we'll see. But it starts here, and it starts probably on the 30-minute chart. So if I'm looking for that higher low here, which I am, that's the area that I'll start to trade long. If I get it wrong, I'm only going to have a small amount on the table. And if I get it right, then, as I say, we break these levels, then we look to scale in and go a little bit heavier into that area. Euro, nothing to do here for me, given that we're in the 3rd phase of this trade and looking for, of course, more upside. On the 30-minute chart, if you're not in already, what I'd be looking for is, I'd be looking to trade in the opposite direction, actually, looking at this chart. So I'll be looking for price to come off here and give me a significant lower high, and then look to trade it short. To where? To the daily pivot only. That's what I'd be looking for. So really, I'm describing a retracement of about 40 odd pips. So 10, 15 pip candle to get you down to here. I think that's quite a reasonable position to take if you're willing, able, and can see the trade. Certainly, we've got a double top, so a nice little reversal bar sitting here makes a whole lot of sense to trade it short to the daily pivot. Cable, well, we're in the hands of the Monetary Policy Committee at this point in time, and there's not a whole lot to do. Look, if I'm completely frank, and I had a lot of stake in this, I would be reducing it. I'd be closing some of this position, although I am just slightly out of profit. I'd be closing something of this in a losing position. But the fact is, I've got a very small amount on, because I'm chasing the big risk, the big reward rather, and for that reason, I'm just happy to take my medicine if indeed we do get taken out, and we will get taken out if price goes 5 pips below the weekly pivot. But at this point in time, I'm happy to ride through the news. Unless I get a TP1 in the next 55 minutes, that's the position I'll be taking into the news. So they're the 3 majors. Let's have a quick look at the 30-minute charts on the miners. Yeah, a bit of a double bottom here. Again, a higher low may get me interested a little bit later, but the news is going to interrupt that thought process, I would have thought. Nice daily pivot test here. Well, all but a daily pivot test here. And look, if you're thinking short here, then that's fine. I can see why you get interested with this bar in particular. But I'm not thinking short. I'm thinking, again, false break of the bottom of this range. And what I'd be looking for is, I like the fact that we've almost tested the daily pivot. I'd like to see a high low here, and that would get me interested long. EuroCAD's a toughie because it is on fire and very, very tough to put that fire out right now. Again, another big bull bar, and I don't see this stopping until, where is that level? There it is. Around about the 155.50 mark, even 155.60 mark. So I think that's got a fair way to go. So there's no trade for me on EuroCAD. Euro Aussie, again, too far gone. Although that said, we're coming to a resistance level. So if we can roll over here, give me something like a double top or bearish engulfing bar, then a lower high, I'll be seeking a short trade there. That's on any time frame. Aussie yen, I want it to hit the bottom of this range. And then again, look for a reversal bar and a higher low. If I see this as a reversal bar and get a higher low in this area, I would be willing to trade that as well. So that's Aussie yen. Again, I'm looking at the 4-hour chart. This could happen on the 30-minute chart very, very easily because we are indeed looking at a reversal bar here. So the higher low in this vicinity, in particular, if we look at that level there, in particular, if we got the higher low here, I think that would be a reasonable position to take long on Aussie yen. That's about it. So I'm not really interested in the rest. So I'm actually going to wrap it up there, guys. So I'm going to invite you, if you're not aware of it, to attend the TTR evening session this evening, where I think we'll probably have about 7 or 8 traders in the room. And that is a free show also. It's TTR, the original show. If you're not aware, I'll show you how to get into that. Let me just do that off screen, and I'll show you. I'll even give you a link, I think, to accommodate that. Just give me 2 ticks. We'll drag this over here. Now I've lost my cursor. Oh dear, oh dear. There it is. Bear with me, guys, and I'll give you this link. I think I can give you this link. Sorry, guys, I've just got to log into the software and hope I can retrieve it. Should be able to. I don't actually. I can't. Can I? I can't actually give you the link. But what I can do is I can show you the link. And you can copy it down. It'll get you into the the original show, which starts at, I think, hour and 50 minutes from now. But I'll confirm that in 2 ticks. Getting there, getting there. Okay. Right, I'm going to put the link in here, but I'm pretty sure you won't. Maybe you can copy and paste it. I don't know. Anyway, you can certainly write it down. Okay, there it is. So I don't know if you can copy and paste that off the screen, guys, but that is where we will be, about 7 or 8 traders in a free show. That happens 6:30 p.m. Singapore time. So it's 9:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, which will be 10:30 a.m. London time. So 10:30 GMT is when that will take place. I'll just leave that up there, guys, in case you want to copy it down. I won't close the show for a little bit, but what I will do is I'll take my leave, because everything's perfectly clear, I'm sure, to you people who have been listening to exactly what I'm looking for the rest of the day. So I'll leave you with this, and thank you very much for your company, in particular those who have been in watching Ash and I trade for the last month or couple of months whilst we've been doing it for you. That will continue into the new year, and I'll take this opportunity to wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas and a wonderful 2019. If you can be in that show, as I say, it's absolutely free. Just have to register with your email address, and I'll be in there. If not, have a wonderful Christmas and New Year, folks. See you later. Bye-bye for now.